This weekend, the ex-president of the United States threatened America's Jews. On Sunday morning, Donald Trump took to his fake Twitter website to brag about how no president has done more for Israel than him. But American Jews, he said, are not grateful. Quote, U.S. Jews have got to get their act together and appreciate what they have in Israel before it is too late. Now, to some degree, we've all become inured to this kind of disgusting rhetoric. It's certainly not a new take from Donald Trump, who has always been clear that he sees Jews, Jewish Americans, first and foremost as loyal subjects of the state of Israel, not fundamentally American, fundamentally foreign. So take this tweet from the staff of the Republicans on the House Judiciary Committee. They're the minority committee, although they have a good shot at being the majority. And they've carved out a niche. This particular Twitter handle, I don't know who runs it, regularly tweeting like intentionally outrageous, inflammatory things. On October 6th, they wrote simply, Kanye, Elon, Trump, which is, I gotta say, actually a pretty effective, succinct, honest expression of their worldview. Like, that's what they like. That's their Mount Rushmore. Antisocial people who act like enormous jackasses and bullies. That is actually the simplest version of the Republican MAGA worldview. Of course, that tweet came at a moment of peak right-wing celebration of one Kanye West after he wore a T-shirt declaring White Lives Matter, and Fox News host Tucker Carlson flew across the country to go kiss his ring and was just delighted. He invited Kanye into his show for a fawning interview, introducing him as some sort of misunderstood creative genius.
The enemies of his ideas dismissed West, as they have for years, as mentally ill. Too crazy to take seriously. Look away, ignore him. He's a mental patient. There's nothing to see here. But is West crazy? You can judge for yourself as you watch what we're about to show you. He has his own ideas, we can say that. Creative people tend to. That's why they're artists, not actuary. But crazy? That was not our conclusion. In fact, we've rarely heard a man speak so honestly and so movingly about what he believes. But again, you can judge for yourself.
And then Tucker had to sit there the whole time being like, yes, yes, Kanye, more. By the way, Kanye West is a musical genius, absolutely. You know, Bobby Fischer was a genius at chess. You know, genius is a complicated thing. But as it turns out, the viewers of that show actually couldn't even do the thing they were set up to do, which was judge for themselves. Remember, the whole setup for this is they say he's nuts. Take a look for yourself. What do you think? Because Tucker edited out several of West's most disturbing statements, including this anti-Semitic comment.
My kids are going to a school that teaches black kids a complicated Kwanzaa. I prefer my kids knew Hanukkah than Kwanzaa. At least it will come with some financial engineering.
You know, because the Jews, finance, they're good with money. But that wasn't in the interview, so you couldn't judge that based on what he said. But again, that was just the tip of the iceberg, okay? Because the very next day, Kanye tweeted that he was going to go, quote, DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. And then a fairly deranged thing about how black people are the actual Jews, which comes from a whole complicated corner of the internet I won't get into. But those same conservatives who were praising Kanye just days before, who just decry, they love nothing more than to go crazy about any perceived anti-Semitism from their political enemies, particularly Muslim women who are Democrats in Congress, the way Donald Trump does, they were all silent, remain silent. As Kanye has said, he's going to go DEFCON 3 on the Jews. And not only that, he hasn't stopped. Again, this is one day after the interview. He's ramped up his rhetoric. Yesterday, he pops on a podcast where he rants about Jewish control of the media, arguing that Jews control every influential industry and use it to exploit others, while calling Disney a, quote, Jewish platform, and blaming Jewish Zionists for spreading stories about his ex-wife Kim Kardashian and her ex-boyfriend Pete Davidson. Textbook stuff, folks. Read a book. There is a reason why the people marching with the tiki torches in Charlottesville, the very fine people, as Donald Trump once described them, claimed were defending their Confederate heritage. There is a reason those men you see there were chanting, Jews will not replace us, and blood and soil. This is not a fluke. It's not like, oh, wow, weird. Anti-Semitism over there and anti-Semitism over there is popping up a lot. The kind of right-wing spaces, discourses that Kanye West and Donald Trump are occupying, I suspect the kinds of stuff they're getting fed into their brains by the parts of the internet they're looking at, have always bent towards anti-Semitic conspiracies, specifically about Jews pulling the puppet strings and controlling the world, controlling the media, and Hollywood, and finance. And right-wing politics, as currently embodied by MAGAism, which is the dominant ethos of one of two of America's major parties, has always been and will always be fundamentally a threat to tolerance and pluralism that will inevitably target Jews.
Remember the BLM movement, May of 2020, when every high school girl in America was absolutely required to put a black square on her Instagram page? Remember that? BLM, everyone's for BLM. Mitt Romney marched with BLM. What was that? Well, it was a scam, actually, it turns out. It was a scam, and it really hurt the country. Candace Owens has done an entire documentary on this. It's called The Greatest Lie Ever Sold, George Floyd and the Rise of BLM. For the documentary, she showed up to the gated mansion in Laurel Canyon, Los Angeles, owned by BLM co-founder Patrisse Cullors. Cullors then posted a video on Instagram complaining about Candace Owens' reporting. Watch this.
So we are headed to Laurel Canyon. We've yet to see any black people in this neighborhood. So there's definitely somebody home. Hello. I was just looking to speak to whoever is at this property. Sir? Hello? I don't know if he's going to get someone. I see a very cute German Shepherd, it looks like.
This morning, I woke up to Candace Owens being outside of my house with a news crew.
I can't see how this purchase helped black lives anywhere in America. I can't even find a black life on the property. The dog's not even black, so there's that.
And so they're literally trying to destroy us. They're trying to destroy me. They're trying to destroy the movement. And I just need us to be stronger.
When you live in a multi-million-dollar home in Laurel Canyon, it can be hard. Candace Owens is the person who caused the suffering you just saw. She's the producer of the brand new documentary, The Greatest Lie Ever Sold, George Floyd and the Rise of BLM. One of the bravest people we know and one of the smartest joins us tonight. Candace Owens, thanks so much. First of all, thank you for doing this. It's like that whole moment is forgotten. Why did you think it was important to make a documentary about it?
Because of exactly what you said, because they want you to forget it, right? They do these things, they sort of punch you in the face and then they move on and they say, nobody look any further, we're now moving on to a different narrative. It is important to pause and to reflect and to consider what happened and ask a very big question, which for whatever reason no journalist was interested in at the time. We were all basically required to either put up a black square or donate to Black Lives Matter or to make some, statement online about how black people are suffering to make sure that Black Lives Matter would receive the $80 million that it received in 1 year. But nobody asked the question, where is all the money going? I was interested because they turned me into public enemy number one for accurately talking about George Floyd, not in the capacity of a hero, but in the capacity of a person who was addicted to drugs and who had enough fentanyl in the system to kill a horse at the time that he died. That made people angry because people were invested in the emotion of Black Lives Matter. And so, look, I'm wearing the shirt. It is the BLM symbol, but instead I've inserted some cash into it because what they really did is they robbed Americans. They robbed Americans' emotions. They extracted emotions. They used black pain to create confusion and to take millions upon millions, tens of millions of dollars from people. And where did the money go, Tucker? That's what the documentary explores, that people are going to be shocked. I hope people are very behind the transgendered movement because that's where a lot of this money went, and then there's just a dead trail because the one thing that you're afforded when you decide that you are transgendered is you can change your name. So you don't know who any of these people were originally, but they received hundreds and thousands and millions of dollars of cash.
It's all... I just can't control myself and note, because I was there and I watched it, you were basically banned from all media, including some conservative outlets, but for telling the truth, the factual, documented truth about George Floyd. You were not allowed to tell the truth, which really was, I think,
exactly
a dark moment.
Right.
Let me ask you, do you know anybody, apart from the ladies living in Laurel Canyon and the transgenders you just mentioned, any actual, normal black person who benefited from BLM?
No, absolutely. It's the exact opposite. I can tell you millions of black people who suffered because they now live in the inner cities that were looted and that were rioted, and therefore the businesses picked up, which my documentary will show. They picked up and they left because why wouldn't they leave? Obviously, if they're basically saying that crime is allowed to take place and these are zones in which there can be no policing. So these people are now suffering economically, and we of course predicted that that would be the outcome because of the BLM scam, which benefited nobody. And there are a lot of questions. In my personal opinion, this was a money laundering scheme, and it is interesting that these individuals, like Patrisse Cullors, decided to host a Joe Biden inauguration party at the Black Lives Matter house. Again, all of that is in the documentary. It's stunning. And I do want to add this. My personal charity, after I announced that I was doing this documentary, I run a charity called Blexit. We received a letter 2 weeks after the trailer dropped from the IRS saying that they were going to investigate my charity. I welcome the investigation because I am not a scam artist and I do real work in the inner city communities. This is Biden's IRS once again saying you are not allowed to investigate anything that the media is complicit in.